Okay, in this speech, I want to dispel a myth, and that myth is that UFC fighters are thuggish or brutish or undisciplined or any of the above. Common stereotypes that people have with UFC fighters is that, well, for example, John McCain, he compared it to human dogfighting. You know, so I mean, he wonders why he's not president. So that's one reason why. Some people say it's white trash heaven. Maybe, but it's also heaven for me as well, and a few other people, many other people actually. It's got a huge fan base. And another one is that people seem to think it contributes to the level of violence in society, which is actually a huge mistake to say that, because martial arts follows, or you find with various martial arts is that they follow a sort of a philosophy that each martial art style has that's unique to its style. So, for example, well, the most common one is that martial arts is self-defense. You know, it's called self-defense, not like offense. It's not designed to sort of instigate fights. It's designed for one to, through means of the development of physical confidence and the knowledge that you can defend yourself against any aggressor. You should have a strong sense of self-confidence that should allow you to not desire to fight or get into the theater of combat in any way, shape, or form. It's actually, aggression is actually a virtue that is really frowned upon in martial arts. Not only that, the fitness level required for a professional martial artist is pretty insane. Usually, martial art fights can last from anything from like 3 seconds to 5 3-minute rounds, or 3 5-minute rounds. Sort of same length of time, but so you know it's. You need to have the stamina of like a marathon runner to really last the full sort of run of rounds, if you will. Many fights, you know, you'll find that when they actually go to the final round, you'll see the fighters are absolutely out of breath, you know, out of puff. They'll put on like their t-shirt and they'll start, you know, being drenched with sweat within seconds. You know, that just goes to show just how ridiculous their cardio strength is. Not only that, they also have to have immense physical strength. You know, many other sports just require maybe, like for example, football. Although there's a huge American football, that is, not European style. Although there's like a great variation of different sort of positions you can play, often a player may just need to have one strong physical attribute. Maybe like, you know, their size, their strength, their weight, their speed. Maybe just how, you know, the quarterback has to be able to throw the ball well, maybe take a good hit. You know, with martial arts, you need to be able to take good hits. You need to be able to last long, and you need to be able to have this sort of strategic foresight of perhaps like a chess player or, you know, a coach of a team of some sort to anticipate your opponent's moves based on very, very subtle sort of things you can pick up from your opponent's stance. A few fighters that dispel this myth are, I'm going to give you two of my favorite fighters and one fighter that really kind of proves that a street fighter can enter the ring. And the first one is Kimbo Slice, this gentleman right here. He was a sort of internet street fighting sensation. He was a good fighter. He could throw a fist, and you know, he was a rather scary guy to say the least. But down there, you see this fight down here? He fought Matt Petrozelli, a guy with pink hair, and he got knocked out in 14 seconds. You know, that just goes to show that you just being a street fighter isn't enough. Being able to throw a fist isn't enough to sort of last in the octagon. This fighter right here is known as Lyoto Machida. This guy he holds very dear to him the philosophy of martial arts, the doctrine, if you will, that fighting is in fact a last resort. You know, he does this purely as a sport. He's not aggressive by nature. You often find his conduct in the ring is very relaxed and very controlled. He really isn't an aggressive fighter. He's a very focused and clairvoyant fighter. He also has a great, I think he's only lost twice, and he's had 17 victories, and he's a former light heavyweight champion. He actually said himself, he believes that rather than the physical pursuit of being able to beat someone up in martial arts, he believes that it's a sport that educates, instills discipline and respect, and that those lessons are something we can all live by. And another fighter that dispels this myth is Shane Carwin. Now, despite this guy's, rather brutish exterior, you wouldn't sort of assume this by looking at him, that he is in fact a college graduate with 2 degrees. He has a bachelor's degree in engineering, or mechanical engineering, from the Colorado School of Mines, and he has an environmental technology degree from Western State College. And at one point, he was ranked the 4th best heavyweight fighter in the world. And he was, he had a title shot against Brock Lesnar, which was his only loss, and he had 12 victories. And I think of those 12, 11 of them were first-round knockouts. So again, it goes to show that intellect, intelligence, and extreme discipline are the factors that go into creating a good fighter. Or rather, if a fighter wants to make himself good, he has to develop these qualities physically and mentally. So, what I think people who view UFC and cringe need to realize is that the discipline level of these fighters, the commitment that these fighters sort of take in, the sacrifices these fighters make, the years of practice and the state of mind that they develop is something that they really do take for granted, and they need to. I feel they deserve a little more appreciation for it. And it takes more than just a pair of fists and some balls to go into the ring and really succeed at UFC. And you often find that thugs now and then do enter the ring, but that's usually as a way of advertising. Whenever you see a commercial, you don't want to see a guy meditating and getting sort of in the zone for a fight. You want to see some thug with a mohawk, cauliflower ears, and tattoos. That'll get you sort of interested into it. So this sort of facade that it is an aggressive and brutish sport is just merely as a means of attracting a crowd, if anything, and it's not the complete and accurate image of UFC itself. So I hope I educated you all.
So James, what did you think?
You had a pretty good intro in the beginning. It seemed like you really knew the topic he was talking about. You had good descriptions, and you explained the power plant pretty well. It was a pretty good speech.
All right. Yeah, I didn't care much for the attention device. I thought it was a little bit awkward. I think you should have used the McCain quote as your attention device and then made your kind of snarky comment and then talked about what the subject was. I think that would have worked a little bit better. So you had the elements there that would have worked, but the order in which you presented them was a little bit awkward. I also think that you want to have a clearer statement that this is in fact the purpose of the speech. I kept coming back several times to try and remind myself what it is that you're trying to show us, and you're trying to sort of dispel the myths that this is all just about brutality, that there is in fact some artistry or style or skill that's required here, and it's not just putting thugs in, the dogfights, or what was it that McCain used to describe it, some animal baiting or something along those lines. I think that the examples that you used were pretty good, because each of them, you've got this nice topical organization that you could use in talking about the one example that might have fit the stereotype but really doesn't fulfill what it is that MMA is all about, and then your two other examples that you have a lot of detail on that you're interested in. I didn't hear any source citations during the presentation, so that's a little bit problematic. I think that you kind of rely on the visuals to do the structuring for the speech, and you need to be a little bit sharper on your own transitions. You turn and start delivering the speech to the visuals a couple of times, and that's a little bit awkward. You also have a tendency to roll up your script in your hands and turn it into a baton that you then have to unroll to kind of refer back to your notes on, and that's a little distracting also. The subject matter, I think, is interesting. The visuals are okay. They do transitions, and they illustrate some of the points that you're talking about. Those of us who are not followers of MMA might be wondering, well, how long does a career last? It sounds like most of these careers don't last more than 20 bouts. I didn't hear you cite a single example of somebody who'd fought more than 20 fights, and I'm wondering how you get to be world champion, 4th ranked in the world if you've had 12 fights. I mean, does everybody just, does that happen? Is there like a tournament style, or is there single matches? I think I could have used a little bit more explanation and background on those points. But the point that you were talking about, I thought you did a pretty good job trying to focus on. I just think maybe a little more context would be helpful. All right, thank you.